Hey guys, Mike Lennar is here with SimpleNursing.com. Today we're interviewing a very new grad. Her name is Ta, and we're asking her all the details about being a new grad, interview tips, resume tips, and really what to do in the last semester of your nursing school to get your dream job. All right, Ta, it has been a while. If you guys didn't know, Ta, you actually used to work with Simple Nursing. But if you can just tell the audience your name and where you're from and...
Hi guys, my name is Tamina. I am a neuro ICU nurse. I've been a nurse for about 7 months. I've actually used to do social media marketing for Simple Nursing, work with them for 1.5 years, which was an amazing experience too. Actually used Simple Nursing to pass nursing school as well. So I'm here to talk about how to land your dream job as a new grad nurse, how to ace nursing school, and those interviews.
All right, so Ta, it's been a while. It's been a while. So you just recently graduated from nursing school?
Yes, I graduated back in May, and then I started in the neuro ICU in July.
Okay.
So it's been like 7 months as a nurse.
Nice. If you guys didn't know, Ta runs a rather large TikTok channel helping new nurses and everything nursing.
Yeah.
So all your handles are like everything Ta, gmail.com, everything, Ta, everything.
I changed it to Tamina.rn now.
Did you really?
Yeah, I
All right,
rebranded.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
You're working the neuro ICU as a new grad, and you went to school during COVID, so you didn't get really any hands-on experience.
No, I missed out of 1.5 years of clinical.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was insane. I started in the neuro ICU and I felt like I knew nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah, and I really didn't know anything.
it's funny because we talk to students all the time. They're like, I've never put a Foley in, never put an IV, and you never really do that stuff anyways, like during skills. But do you do your clinicals online mostly, or?
So it was 1 year online, a whole year online, and then I just did 8 weeks in person, and then I graduated.
When did you actually put your hands on a patient then? The first semester?
Yeah, the first semester in fundamentals, and then a little bit of med-surg, and then COVID hit.
Oh, okay, so if you guys are watching this in post-COVID environment or coming down tail end of the pandemic here, this is pretty wild. How did you adapt? Like, you must have been freaking out.
Well, online clinicals was insane because it was just like my professor talking, and we did case studies. So I didn't really learn.
You didn't even put your hands on a patient?
No, I didn't even put my hands on it. We didn't even have lab in person.
So the last time after when you took the NCLEX, right?
Yes.
The last time you actually touched a patient was first semester?
Well, I did 8 weeks before I graduated in person, but because of COVID, we were really limited. Like they didn't want us to do anything. So you were just following the nurse around and then you went home.
Oh, okay.
So even that, I didn't practice any skills. I didn't put in an IV, I didn't give any medication, I didn't do anything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe other states and people watching this, other states are more lenient on the COVID stuff. So what was the hardest part about you going or preparing yourself to go into this neuro ICU? Most people go into med-surg and stuff.
Yeah, well, I encourage everyone to go for their dream specialty.
Okay.
I think there's a taboo where everyone's like, you have to start in med-surg. No, you don't. Just apply, shoot your shot. You may get it. That's what I did. And I didn't even have clinical experience.
So if you guys don't know, neuro ICU is one of the top tier varsity of nursing. Most nursing, if not all nursing instructors will say, hey, get 1 year of experience in med-surg. Did you hear the same thing?
They told me the same thing, and I just applied. I applied to the ICU and applied to the OR, and I got both.
Okay, so how did you actually get your job? Because that's really hard to get if you guys don't know.
Because I didn't have clinical experience, I wanted to stand out. So I got an externship, nurse extern, on the med-surg floor. So when I was interviewing, I was talking about my experience there and how I was going out of my way to make sure I got experience. And I think that impressed them.
So you did what is it, externship?
So it's like a nurse extern. You work as a tech, but you also learn from the nurse.
Oh, wow. How long did you do that for?
For about 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
And they hired you as a tech extern knowing that you're going to be gone in 3 months?
Yeah.
Or you didn't tell them?
Because they were hoping I was going to stay as a nurse.
Oh, and you're like, bye, bees.
I was it was a nice backup in case I didn't get the jobs that I wanted.
Okay.
But once I got them, I was like, peace out.
Oh,
and they supported that. They were like,
okay.
good, yeah, you should go to a specialty, don't stay in med-surg.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, for new grads or going to be new grads watching this, what usually happens, we're going to ask Tyler experience, but in my case, usually, if you don't have your BSN or your Bachelor's of Nursing, like I didn't, I graduated my ASN or ADN, my associates. If you don't have your BSN, no great or good hospitals are going to hire you, so that you're left with bottom of the barrel hospitals, really dingy, musty, community hospitals that are understaffed and under-equipped, and not necessarily the magnet status hospitals that are really nice. So that's one of the biggest things and biggest challenges as a nurse, but you had your BSN.
I had the BSN.
Okay.
But I also think it depends on the state and the area you live
that
in.
is true.
Because I work at a magnet hospital and they do hire ADN, but then you're required within the
Really?
next 2 years to get your BSN.
Oh, okay.
So you're hired, but you're limited time. Like they give you a time for you to go back to school.
Because you're in Georgia. I was in
Yes.
California,
Yeah, California is hard.
and so impacted.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that one job.
Yeah.
So,
I heard
okay.
it's really hard in California to get into your dream specialty.
Did all your friends get into their dream specialties?
They did,
No
yeah.
way. All right, guys, move to Georgia. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I actually had a friend who lives in California, and he applied to med-surg. He got the job,
Okay.
and then a week later, he got a call from the ICU, but it was too late because he already committed to med-surg.
You can't back out, or wait at the same hospital?
No, different hospital, but he already like signed and agreed, and it was too late.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it was
can't
too
they
late
just,
for
like-
him. He should have waited longer.
What if they just said made an excuse? You can't do
Yeah, I guess he didn't.
Did he get a sign-on bonus or?
I don't know, but I just know
Okay.
that he couldn't like back out.
Oh snap.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into all the nitty-gritty interview
Yes.
questions that are still waiting, what's some advice, or I guess how do you personally feel like when you were applying to this, your dream job? Did you think you were going to get it? Did you
So
not
my biggest tip is apply early.
Okay.
Early is key. I applied in February,
Okay.
but I graduated in May. So that was 3 months. They started interviewing like 3 months before.
You applied before you graduated?
Yes, and
Oh
I got
my
the
God.
job and I signed it before I even graduated.
You didn't even take your NCLEX yet?
No.
What?
So I wasn't gonna start until after I take the NCLEX.
This is
But
the
the
thing?
key is to apply early.
Okay.
Because also mine is a new grad residency program. They hire you before you graduate.
Oh.
So I do encourage applying to residency programs because they also like help you provide classes.
Okay.
So I applied 3 months early, got the job, and then I just had to take the NCLEX and pass.
Nice.
Yeah.
So man, you must have been really stressed because if you don't
I
pass
was,
that
it was a
NCLEX-
lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna lose this job if I don't pass the NCLEX.
man.
But it works out. You just have to believe in yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Do it, guys.
Yep.
Okay. So to recap what Todd, that was a lot real quick. If you guys are in your last semester or in your last year of nursing, usually what happens is, well, Todd was saying recommends 3 months before, probably in California, 6 months or a year before. I don't know. But a really good thing is nurse residency programs or new grad training.
Yes. New grad program.
What are they called? Fellowship?
No, I think it's just new grad residency programs.
New grad residency.
Yeah.
It's basically a really good training program to help you as a new nurse, like about 4 months to 6 months on your specialty, and they have quizzes. They help you learn
Classes.
hands-on, right? Okay. Now, community hospitals in California that I had to start at,
Okay.
they don't have any of that crap, and so
That's hard.
no one wants you, or it's so competitive at those magnet status, Harvard level, Ivy League, big Ritz-Carlton hospitals. So at the really small community hospital levels, the education suffers. They don't even want new grads because then they have to use $10,000 to $20,000 to train you. So if you guys didn't know, it usually costs 10 to 20 grand to actually train a new grad because of all the onboarding it takes. And so that's what the residency program comes with. And so that's why they make you sign a 2-year contract, or you owe them 20 grand. You're paying them back.
And I did sign a contract.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
But you got your dream job. So.
I did, and I don't recommend signing a contract. I just lucked out. Like my
Yeah.
unit is amazing, and it's not like that for everyone.
Did you get a sign-on bonus or no?
No,
Oh, okay.
so you can't have it all.
But you can if you believe in yourself. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Oh wait. So before we go on, actually, you did do a lot of tips here. So you said 3 months before you graduate, apply for the job.
Yes. Okay, also you have to network. Talk to the nurse manager, talk to the charge nurse, and your preceptor. Just let them know you're interested in the specialty, let them know who you are, stand out, go up
Above and beyond.
above and beyond, exactly.
Is there anything during that time that you can self-promote in a sense that you can show them instead of tell them? Like,
Yeah, so ask,
answering
like, do you
call
need
line.
any help?
Okay.
Help other nurses too. If you're sitting down, the nurse is charting, oh my God, okay.
Yeah.
Just
of
walk
course.
around and help.
Yeah. Like never sit on your feet. I'm
Don't
sorry.
sit on your feet.
Sit on your feet or sit
Especially
on
on
your
your
butt.
phone. Never be on your phone.
Yeah, man. In my clinicals, they were really strict about that. I think
Yeah.
someone got kicked out for it. But then
Mine
again,
did too.
Really?
Yeah.
But you have apps and stuff that help you, so kind of.
Yeah, they do. But if you're writing, then it's not
Yeah,
as
of course,
obnoxious.
Snapchat,
So definitely network, talk to people, let them get to know you. Use LinkedIn.
Really?
Add people on LinkedIn. And I feel like not enough nurses know that.
It's so funny because when you're in your last semester, you're so focused on school that you don't even worry, or you don't even, can't see that job?
So you have to plan like a year ahead. Like from the start, I was like, I have to get to know people. I have to
Okay.
let them know who I am. Like I'm best friends with a nurse that had my fundamentals.
Really?
I was following her around and I was like, I need to network. So now we're best friends.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys didn't know, nursing is a small world, very, very small.
Yeah.
If you leave a bad impression, it's the word. Probably just move out of the city or the state.
Yeah. It might follow you then too.
Dude, I know. I had a really bad story that I covered in another video, but that's how I got fired from my first job.
Oh my God.
Because they started like a whole gossip train about me.
Oh no.
So, okay, hold on. I'm asking a different question. When I first got hired, some of the nurses were asking me about, the YouTube channel, and it was very small at the time. And so then the gossip train started that like, oh, this guy's cocky and he's promoting his YouTube. And I was just telling people about it. And the hard part was being a new grad is that no one really likes you because you drag down the unit because you need to learn a lot.
Yeah.
At least your hospital's cool because they prepared that preceptorship. But did you like get any animosity like when you first started?
So like I don't share anything personal.
See, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was telling people.
I've learned that you live work at work and your personal life at home. So I like didn't share my social media, didn't ask people to hang out outside of work. Now I've made friends and now we're cool, but like in the start I was very mindful of that.
And how long have you been there?
7 months.
7 months. See, that's okay, so this is perfect. Real life scenario. I did it completely wrong, and that's why I was telling people not to do that, because you thought that you're going in and, oh, they're nurses, right? But no, it's the mean girls club. If you get a bad rap, or if they feel like you're trying to, self-promote or be cocky, or even if they get that vibe, they're gonna like just team up on you and just pound.
Also, the culture is changing because
Really?
it's mainly travel nurses now on your unit now.
Oh.
The staff nurses are very like small amount.
Okay.
So it's mainly travel nurses now. So like people can't really be mean to you because there's no one else there.
Oh, wow, okay.
Like what it used to be and what it is now has changed. 7 months ago, my unit, it was staff, mainly like 80%.
Wow.
And now it's like 20% that's staff,
Oh, wow.
which is insane. And half of them are new grads.
Is it different working with travel nurses as a new grad?
Yeah, it is.
They don't know where anything is.
No, and you don't either. I'm still learning and I've been there for 7 months, It's like the little things that I don't know and I'm like, who do I ask?
So, okay, new grads out there, you guys got to anticipate this. There's a lot of travel nurses. We're going to talk way more about travel nursing as well. But it's like a toddler taking care of an infant kind of thing.
It is, yeah.
Did you get trained by a new grad like 6 months in? I mean, well, okay, sorry. I heard a story about this new grad getting trained by another new grad who only had 6 months experience.
I got trained with someone who had 11 months.
Oh my gosh.
And a mistake was done. I made a mistake that day.
You did?
Yeah, but it was just a lot going on. It was very stressful. Nothing happened. It wasn't anything
Oh,
major.
you did the mistake.
I made the mistake.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I felt like, if it was someone else, it would have been prevented.
I'm hearing so many more stories in this like dynamic like nursing world we're in now, like, on the tail end of COVID. One of the nurses was trained by someone with 6 months.
Oh, that's.
And she was she was like speaking up because she was about to hurt a patient. And she was like, I think pushing 2 blood pressure medications at the same time in the same line that shouldn't have been.
Oh.
And she's like, no, it's okay, blah, blah. And then the patient's blood pressure dropped into the 70s and they almost had to code the patient.
Yeah, so that's something I learned that day is trust your gut. They always tell you that in nursing school, but I actually learned it that day because I knew I shouldn't have done that. Like I knew I should have spoken out and I did. And they were like, oh, it's fine. But I didn't trust my gut and I should have.
What did you do? I'm just kidding. No.
It wasn't anything major.
Oh, okay.
I took an ABG from the line here, the IJ instead of the A line because the A line wasn't working. But it's different values.
Really?
So then they almost
closer.
intubated the patient. And I was like, no, the A-line wasn't working. They're like, stop, this is false alarm. And I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, man.
Family member was there and everything.
Well, okay, that's fair. I almost killed a patient one time by accident on my new grad stuff. So new grads, watch out.
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Trust your gut, ask questions.
So my story was we still had paper charting in the ER.
Oh, okay.
And this doctor was putting a big 22. I'm like, oh, okay, it's like 22 labetalol, beta blocker, that's gonna drop the heart rate. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go draw it up. I'm like, there's only like, really small vials. I'm like, there's only 2s in here, like this is weird. And so instead of asking my preceptor, I ended up like trying to draw up a crap ton.
Oh my God.
You never wanna do something, if you have 5 vials for some reason, ask someone, because that's usually not normal.
It. Yeah.
There's red flags. So then the other nurse in the med room was like, "What the heck are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, look at 22." And she's like, "No, see that little dot at the bottom of the page?
Oh my God.
It's a 2.2." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, this doctor drops his zeros all the way, like the points." I'm like, "This is dumb." So just watch out, right?
Yeah, ask questions. Trust your gut. And I always do this. I'm like, hey, I know this is a dumb question, and I ask anyway. Because I'd rather look dumb and ask than make a mistake.
All right, so let's get into more specific questions about being a nurse. So what's the hardest, most difficult thing about new grad?
Being a new grad,
Yeah.
we don't know anything.
Well, especially you, because you're post-COVID. Thing.
Yeah, and like you're in the ICU, it's completely different. The setting is different, the medications are different. Learning how to talk to providers, learning how to talk to physicians, the mid-level, like NPs or PAs.
Is there like a certain lingo you have to use?
Like, no, just being able to like ask questions and be like, hey, this is what's wrong with my patient. I think we need this.
Did you feel nervous, like advocating? Because
Yes,
like that's
I felt-
like God complex. The doctors are like.
No, and they do have that. And I
Okay.
felt very intimidated.
Do you work nights?
I work days.
Oh, okay.
So everything happens on days.
Dude, I know, because I was gonna think like if you have to call a doctor to wake them up and it's your first time, like, oh man.
Well, I work in the ICU, so we always have like a provider,
Oh, that's
whether it's
good.
an NP or a PA or a physician on night shift.
Oh, nice.
So they're there always,
All
which
the
is
time.
really nice.
That's really
Yeah. And then we have roundings.
Okay.
So learning how to like give report on your patient.
Okay.
And really like learning why you do what you do. And I work days and it's like hectic and busy. Sometimes it's hard to pause and be like, why am I giving this medication? Why is this happening to the patient? You
Yeah.
know, like,
It's just like drinking through a
yeah.
fire hose.
So I think it's like the hardest thing is like you're trying to learn the clinical aspect of it, but you're also trying to learn like, why is this happening?
So it's almost like I heard someone describe it like this, where it's like, yeah, you learn how to draw squares in nursing school.
Yes.
But then nursing is like a whole cube.
Yes,
And it's
exactly.
turning constantly.
Yes, it really is. So I think the hardest part is just like learning the diagnosis and like why this is happening and how I can prevent it from getting worse. And also knowing how to have your skills, you know, like acting quick. So it's been hard.
Did any like nurses tell you like, you know, it's okay, you'll get the hang of it
Yes.
at 1 year point or
After 1 year.
really?
That's what they told
Okay.
me. Yeah. And some days I feel confident and some days I'm like, I don't know anything. Like this is so scary.
Yeah. Have you ever cried?
No,
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay.
I haven't cried.
I cried a lot.
I've had moments where I'm like, I'm not coming back tomorrow.
Really?
I can't do this.
Do you
And
ever
then-
feel like you wanted to quit, like you couldn't do it?
Yes.
Really?
100%. I like had my first admission from outside hospital. The patient was a wreck. Came on like a rock drip, a cardian drip. It was just insane. And I'm like a new grad. I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know, it was just like.
Did anyone help you?
I had some help. We were super short staffed.
Man.
And then like a lot was happening on the unit that day. It was like a full moon. So like the NPs were like running around and like I had to like figure out the titration. It was a lot. So when I went home that day, I was like, I can't do this tomorrow. I'm so stressed out. But then at the end of my 3 days, I was like, wow, I did it. I learned and I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, you didn't kill
And that was,
anyone? You
yeah,
did
and that was
good?
the moment I was like, okay, I can do this.
Dang, yeah, how did that feel?
It felt good because during I was like, oh my God, like I'm so stressed out. And
Yeah.
afterwards I was like, I did it. Yeah. So it's doable. It's
That
just
is
a
scary.
process. It's like ups and downs.
Yeah, so just like nursing school, right? Nursing
Exactly.
school's ups and downs.
Yeah.
Anything that would have prepared you more if, oh, sorry, what were you gonna
Oh, no, I was gonna say, but the main thing was I would ask the nurses next to me, like, hey, can I get your opinion on this? Like, hey, I just did this, like I titrated this much, the blood pressure is still high, I maxed out on cardine, what would you do? And then I would ask someone else, what would you do? Just to make sure like I was doing the right thing and I was doing everything that I could.
say? Nice.
So like ask questions. If the NP is in there, ask your neighbors.
Rely on your team.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I did that and I was like, I don't care, I need help.
Even when you're short staffed,
Yes.
which is
I would go
very
up to
common.
them, yeah, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, so my patient's A, B, C, and D, they're on this drip, and I titrated, maxed out, blood pressure is still high, patient's irritated, what would you do?
Nice.
And then I would go based off that,
Okay.
because they had more experience than me.
Yeah, they have like the recommendations.
Yeah, so definitely ask questions, it's okay.
Would you recommend any other tips? Like, for example, I heard a new grad say like show up an hour early, show up 30 minutes before.
So people told me that, I don't do that.
You don't do that? Okay.
I don't do that because I'm like, I need my sleep.
Oh, okay, all right. You start Starbucks.
So I
walk it up.
come and like I get report, I look at the patient, I look at their drips.
Okay.
And I see what's going on. If I have questions, I ask.
Okay.
And I feel like if I feel like the report wasn't good enough, then after they leave, I go through the chart and I read.
Okay.
And then I go back and do my assessment. So I feel like you don't need to come back.
Yeah.
Come through, and they're not paying you to.
Okay, all right.
You know, they're not
Whoa,
paying me
whoa,
to be there an hour early, so I'll be there when I'm there.
I thought out of sheer fear it was going to be like that.
I think like you just have to get rid of the fear. Yeah, you just have to remember whatever's happening, like you can do it. Just ask questions
Mm-hmm.
and you'll figure it out. You don't have to come early.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Now, when your new grad what is it called again? Preceptorship program?
Yeah.
That only lasted 4 months.
So it was 4 months of me being in orientation.
Orientation, okay.
And then I was off on my own, but the whole program is 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So for us, like we have like a project we need to do and we have like residency classes once a month.
Okay.
And we just go over like things that are happening in the hospital and on the unit and how to be like a better nurse.
Nice.
But orientation was 4 months. I
Okay.
got off orientation a week early actually because we were like short staffed.
Oh my God! Not because you did good. You're short staffed.
Yeah,
here you
so
go.
I was like, oh man, I'm not ready. And honestly, the last month of orientation, they gave us the hardest patients. So I was feeling burned out. I was like, I'm ready to get off orientation so I can get easy patients.
Yeah. Did that happen?
And it did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then it was like 1 month of like easy patients, and then suddenly I'm getting all these hard patients, and like I didn't have them for a month, you know, so I lost some of my skills.
Oh,
So in a way,
man.
I kind of wish it just like kept the same pace.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like, no, I'm not ready to be off orientation? Like, I'm not ready to be on my own?
Yeah, but everyone's like, you're fine. Like, you can do this.
They're
You're
just
fine.
telling you that because they're
Yes,
short-staffed.
and you know what? I was fine. I just asked
Were you?
questions,
Okay,
you know?
okay.
So in orientation, I learned like the major things, but the little things like the discharge, like certain lab work, CTs, I didn't really focus on. So when I got off orientation, I had to just ask. Like, for example, giving blood. What do I do with this form? Do I put it in the chart? Like, what do I do with this? You know? So it was
Yeah.
like the small things that I didn't know, and I would just ask questions.
So there's a big key term out there called imposter syndrome, which basically means like, you know, you're qualified to do your job and you're off, you know, your training, and now it's your time to shine and do your job, but now you just feel like, we need to call the nurse, and you're like, oh wait, I am the nurse. Did you ever feel that way?
Yes, all the time. Like there's days where I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing, like I got this. But there's a lot of days where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, like I shouldn't be here, I need help. And also like the providers sometimes make you feel that way too.
Really?
You know, because they're like, why would you do this? Or like, why are you asking this? Like you should know this, you know? But I think my biggest step is like I said, just ask questions, it doesn't matter. Because
there
the more
like-
the more you ask, the more you learn. And then also you know more than you think. And you deserve to be there because you worked so hard. You wouldn't be there if you didn't deserve to be there, you know? You know way more. So it goes back to your like foundation, and you just have to believe in that.
Do you think that a lot of people don't like give themselves enough credit because it's like you've
Yes.
just been doing bookwork the whole time, and you've been doing the motions in your preceptorship program? I guess what helped you get there? Is it just a mindset thing, where it's like snap out of it?
It's both.
Okay.
So you have to like remind yourself, like, okay, I know this, like pause. You know, if it's a stressful situation, you have to go back to the moment of like, what do I know? What can I do? And then from there, you build it up. And then that's when you're like, okay, I know this, like I can do this. I deserve to be here. So it is a mindset thing, but also you just have to like believe that you know more than you think.
Did anything help you, like for example, talking to other nurses, or I don't know, looking at YouTube videos, looking at Grey's Anatomy? Or,
Talking to other nurses. So like being in ICU, I feel like there's a lot of young nurses there because a lot of people go back to CRNA school, they go back to NP school. So I would talk to them and they're like, I've been here 3 years, I still feel that way.
Really?
I'm like, okay, it's not just me, and they're super smart and they're amazing nurses. So if they feel that way, like it's normal, it's okay.
Okay, so you're a new grad in the ICU, neuro ICU. Did you always want to be this, you know, bad biche in the neuro ICU?
I didn't know that I wanted to do the ICU. So I used to say, I'm gonna do med surg for a year
Okay.
and then specialize. I felt like I wasn't smart enough to be in the ICU. And everyone was like, you're not gonna get in the ICU, you have to do med surg. So I was like, that's fine. But then I did my externship in med surg and I was like, I can't do this.
So you did your externship 3 months before graduation, right? So,
Yeah. So I did it like the summer before graduation.
Wow.
And I was like, I hate it, I can't do this.
Med
And
surg.
and I was like an extern/tech. So I wasn't even a nurse and I was like, I can't do this. Like maybe nursing is not for me.
really?
And I really questioned it. And I was like, maybe I should just quit nursing school.
You know what's funny is I felt the same way in a sense that if med surg was the only thing that
Yes.
nurses did, I'm like, I want to be a nurse. Like it's soul sucking at least for me.
And
There's
I
some
had
great
COVID
med
on
surg
top
nurses.
of that. It was just a lot.
Oh man, yeah.
It
COVID
was a
too.
lot, and I just couldn't handle it. And I was like, I can't do nursing. And then I realized there's so much that you can do with nursing, and that's the beauty of it.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know that there was so much you can do in nursing. I was supposed to become a PA for the longest time. I was
Okay.
never supposed to be a nurse. I
Okay.
actually talked people out of being nurses.
Okay.
And then when I started working in the ER and I started talking to like flight nurses, travel nurses, ER, and then I transported to the ICU, med surg, and like I'm like, you can do everything.
You can do so much. You
So
can
much.
create your own business.
Yeah, Botox. And,
But like you can do so much, you know. So Once I realized that, I was like, okay, I can do nursing. And then I didn't have any experience in the ICU. I never had clinicals in the ICU because of COVID. I had no idea what it was like to be an ICU nurse.
Wow.
So, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna apply to the ICU. And everyone discouraged me. They're like, you're not gonna get in. You know, 4.0. You need ICU experience. And I was like, I'm just gonna apply. I'm gonna shoot my shot. I applied. I got the job.
Dang.
And I had no idea.
No,
Yeah. So I definitely encourage it. I'm like, just shoot your shot. Apply. You can do it. You're smart enough.
For all of our med-surg nurses or want to be med-surg nurses, you were a wannabe, or not a wannabe. You wanted to be a med-surg nurse.
I was okay with it. Yeah. I was like, I'm
time.
gonna do med-surg for a year and then go from there.
What was the things that you didn't know about med-surg that you realized very quickly?
You're really overworked
Really?
and understaffed
What do you mean
and
by
not
that?
appreciated. Like you have so many patients.
How many do you think?
So Georgia doesn't have a union.
Okay.
So like you'll have 6 to 7 patients.
7 patients at the same time?
And there's sometimes you won't even have a tech to help you.
Say California's 4.
Okay, which is
Maybe
amazing.
5.
I know everyone wants to live in California because of that. California is the dream, but Georgia is not like that. And a lot of states are not like that.
I heard that there's some states that give you like 10, 15 patients. I'm like,
Oh no, I would not accept that. Don't accept it. That's my other advice.
you guys can lose your license, right?
Yeah, so even in ICU, we've been short-staffed, so they triple. And I've always said, if they try to triple me, I'm not gonna accept it.
Dang.
Because the minute you get report, legally, you have to take care of that patient.
Yeah, and a quick tip for new grads out there or gonna be new grads. You can always deny patient assignments.
Yes.
You can protect your license because if there's unsafe ratios that you feel is unsafe and you feel like you have too many critical patients, you can like rush your job, you can get into trouble, medication errors, you can do things that are unsafe for your practice, and that's your license. It's not the hospital's license, it's yours. So be sure to protect it. Were you ever in that predicament? Or?
I haven't, but I've always said that. I was like, so I don't encourage going to work an hour early to read about your clients, but I do encourage before you clock in, look at the sheet and see what your assignment is. If you have too many patients, don't clock in yet. Go speak to the charge nurse.
Oh.
Because if you clock in, you may be obligated, depending on the state, to take care of those patients.
Yeah.
So I always look at the assignment sheet. If I was to be tripled, especially as a new nurse, I wouldn't be comfortable. So before I clock in, I would go and tell them, I'm not going to accept their patients. I'm going to accept 2. I'm in the ICU. It's unsafe.
Yeah.
And it's not fair towards them.
That's really good tips for new grads.
Yeah, so I highly encourage that. And don't take report if you don't want that patient. Because if you take report, you have to take care of them.
Yeah.
And you have to protect your license. The hospitals don't care about your license.
They actually don't care about your license. There was a nurse that I think denied report or somehow did something after report and after clocking in, and then raised her hand to like the house supervisor and the charge nurse, and said she can take care of the patients, and they were trying to accuse her of abandonment.
Yeah.
And that there's so much legalities in that.
And they can, if you take report and you're clocked in, they will. That's why I encourage look at the assignment sheet ahead of time. And then go from there.
Yeah,
of course, there's scenarios where you get patients, you don't know how to take care of them. Just ask questions. Like, tell your charge nurse, hey, like, I've never done this, I've never done that, I have to take care of them. So keep calling your charge nurse, ask them for help. That's why they're there.
Okay, so taking it back to med-surg.
Yes.
You always thought you wanted to be in med-surg. You always wanted to be, you want to be a med-surg person. Okay, so you came to the realization that med-surg wasn't what it was all cracked up to be in your mind.
Yes.
When you started working as a tech before graduating, that's when
I
you got the real
encourage
world.
that,
Okay.
even for a month or 2, because I didn't realize what nursing was. Everyone thinks like, oh, nursing is like butterflies and it's like amazing and it's so
Rainbows, yeah.
nice, but it's not. It's very stressful. It's very hard. You are overworked, 100%, and you are like It's a hard job and it's not for everyone. And I didn't know that until I started working as an extern.
Did a lot of your classmates realize the same thing?
Yes.
Or how's everyone, have you heard of any of your friends dealing with it differently? Or?
So I think since we didn't have clinicals, we all worked as an extern.
Oh,
and when we
everyone
all
did.
did that, we were like, we don't want to work med-surg. We can't do it.
Everyone talked
And honestly,
about it.
God
Okay.
bless med-surg nurses. They deserve more pay. They
Yeah.
deserve everything. They're the best.
It's hard.
They really are.
It's too much.
I just knew I couldn't do it. I would be depressed if I did that. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do it. So everyone went into specialties.
Okay.
Yeah, which is amazing. They all got the jobs.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did your other friends go into?
Labor and delivery, NICU, pediatrics.
crazy.
Yeah, OR,
Whoa.
ER.
Man, everyone needs to move to like.
Well, here's the other tip.
not
Because of
California.
COVID, there's no like nurse staff jobs, so they're hiring new grads in specialties. That's why right now I encourage it, because you will get hired because they don't have actual staff, and they know that they don't have to pay you much because you're a new grad. So this is the time to get into your dream specialty.
This is the time to be new
because
grads.
they're so short-staffed. They will hire you in the level 1 trauma center. They will hire you as a new grad.
Man.
Yeah, they'll hire you in the trauma ICU as a new grad, CV ICU as a new grad.
New grads, listen up. And every nurse, like regular nurses are probably like scared out of their mind because they're hearing this. The seasoned nurses, because it's like you have to work your way up for at least a year or at least 2 years to get that. And there was like a sense of pride being in those positions.
Yes, there was, yeah.
Now there's like fully open doors and new grads are walking in. So it's a really good time to be a new grad. It's really scary as well.
It is scary, but you just ask questions. And
Yeah.
I studied a lot outside of work.
Okay.
I would go home and I would look up subarachnoids, and I would look up like all these, because I'm a neuro,
Okay.
and I would look up all of these diagnoses and learn the patho so I can be a better nurse. So it's a lot of studying. I would go home and study the drips, like nicardipine drip and all of that stuff, because I didn't really know much about it and I didn't have time at work to learn about it. So I would study outside of work and I would study at work. So yes, you can get in the ICU, but you have to put in the work. And I've seen people being kicked out
Really?
as new grads, yeah, because
What
they
do
didn't
they
put in
do?
the work. And it shows, like where you are 4 months of orientation, where you should be and where they're not. And I think it's because people don't realize you do have to put in the work outside the hospital. You have to go home and you do have to study.
Do you know what they got kicked out for? Just not knowing enough, not being quick enough, prioritizing?
Just not asking enough questions and making really small mistakes. And also not knowing enough because they didn't study outside of their shifts.
Okay.
Because if you don't know the patho, then you don't understand why things are happening and certain medications you shouldn't be giving, even though it's in the MAR, things like that.
Yeah.
And skills, if you don't know it, just ask. And I've seen that with new grads, they make mistakes because they don't ask. And it's something very small, but it's huge.
So when we make our new grad training hub, we're going to put all the patho in there from some
Yes.
nursing videos, skills, interview tips, resumes.
You need them because you have to understand the patient as a whole. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to give like blood pressure medication just for the blood pressure. But why are they having high blood pressure? What is really going on? Like you have to understand all of the systems.
Yeah, and it's kind of dynamic for every patient.
Yes,
'cause
it
it's
is,
not just
yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
And that's how you prevent them from coding. And as an ICU nurse, you show up to the codes. Like we cover certain floors in the hospital. So if there's code medical blue, we go. So you have to know what's happening. And you don't know anything about this patient. You go in there and you have to be able to be there for the support. So it's a lot of studying. You can get into CVICU, which is amazing, but you have to put in the time outside of work.
And CVICU is?
Cardiovascular ICU. The gods of the ICUs.
Wait, why is it neuro? I thought neuro would be even more than CVICU.
I don't know. I guess CVICU, they see more.
Okay, so being a new grad and having a little bit of experience in terms of being a tech, you finally go to your interview. Are you nervous? What did you do to prepare? Give us the details.
So if you are a new nursing student, I encourage start thinking about it now. Because I've always known, especially because I missed out on clinicals, I started doing volunteer work so I can stand out on my resume, applying to these jobs. So I would do volunteer work and I would talk about that. I joined clubs and I would talk about that.
What kind of clubs?
So like the Student Nursing Association.
Oh, okay. Does that make a difference, you think, or?
It does, especially if you want to stand out.
Okay.
Because you versus someone who wasn't involved, because you look like a leader versus
Yeah.
someone who doesn't have this on the resume. Because you can have 4.0, but that's not enough. I didn't have a 4.0, but my resume was like out there.
Pretty
I
thick,
had
yeah.
volunteer hours, I had clubs, I was working with simple nursing,
Oh, yeah.
and then I was working as a tech. So I showed them like me as a whole, not just me being book smart.
Nice.
So that definitely made me stand out, and I definitely encourage that. Even if you don't get a lot of volunteer hours, just a little bit will make you look better than the person next to you.
Okay, so, well, if you guys don't know watching this and you're going to go for your interview or a job as a very new nurse, the biggest thing and the hardest thing with these hiring managers or the directors, they get a fat stack of a bunch of resumes, and they all look the same. It's like going through Tinder, right? You just keep on going and going and going.
Yeah, swipe.
So really, what's going to make you stand out? And that's really the biggest thing.
Because everyone has clinical experience.
Everyone does. Everyone has the same
Everyone
thing.
has IV. We put our skills, we put IV, we put Foley. Everyone has that.
those things,
Some people have 4.0 and they add that on their resume. I didn't even include my GPA on the resume. I was like, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's
And
kind of
it
low,
didn't.
so you probably don't. No, I'm just
It
kidding.
wasn't that low. So I encourage stand out, like do volunteer hours, be involved in your community, get a part-time job if you can.
Do you think the work experience helped you?
Yes. And because a lot of the questions was based off your clinical experience, and I didn't have clinical experience, so I would reference it to my tech job.
Okay.
And I would talk about like difficult situations and how I handled it.
Okay.
And So I definitely encourage that. I looked up interview questions ahead of time.
Did any of those show up?
They didn't, but they were very similar.
Okay, like what?
Give an example of when you dealt with a difficult patient and what did you do in that scenario?
So anyone on COVID, or I'm sorry, going to school during COVID, is going to be like, I was online the whole time.
Yeah, and some people did that, and some people didn't have examples to give. But I looked it up ahead of time.
Okay.
And also what I did, I looked up general new grad nursing questions, and then I looked up my hospital. Because there's websites where they like talk about each hospital.
Whoa.
You just Google that hospital, look
Okay,
up
okay.
interview questions, it may show up.
Okay.
It may show, and it did for me, and they were very similar. So in that scenario, I talked about as a tech, like when my patient kept using the call light for the nurse, but the nurse was busy and she wouldn't show up. So when I showed up, she was like throwing stuff at me. And in that situation, I was like, first I had to analyze and make sure, like, is the scene safe?
Mm-hmm.
And once I figured out the scene was safe, I just paused, I let the patient complain, 'cause she just wanted to be heard. And then I reassured her, and I helped out within my scope as a tech that I could. And then I assured her that I would let the nurse know and that she would be there, and the patient felt better because she was heard. And that's how I handled it.
Look at that.
And even though it was a
Textbook.
it wasn't like clinical medication, but I just showed them how I would handle it, and they were impressed by that.
Okay, the biggest thing, if I was the hiring manager, being a nurse for almost 9 years now, the things that you framed it so perfectly, and I don't know if you guys caught this if you're a new grad. So Tao was basically saying a lot of key things. It doesn't matter the details.
No, it doesn't.
So it's basically you looked at the situation, you were able to kind of take your own personal safety into account first. Second thing was you assessed the situation, which follows nursing process. Before intervening, you assessed it. Then your intervention was therapeutic communication. Exactly. So whatever it is, that's a really good mindset to have.
Yes.
And you said something very key in terms of keeping to your scope of practice.
Exactly, and they love that.
They love that. They
Exactly.
love that.
So I definitely encourage just use those in any scenario. Rephrase it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And it works great.
Perfect. Good execution on that. If you guys don't know what scope of practice means, it just means that what you were trained and certified to do. And so techs aren't trained or certified to do like medications, IV stuff, intubations, those kind of things. So cool. What would you recommend wearing, dressing as? How would you do your resume? How'd you figure all that out?
So there's great templates out there for
Okay.
resumes. Keep it simple, keep it black and white, keep it one page.
Okay. No picture?
No pictures.
Okay.
And also have a reference sheet. Impress them.
Okay.
Some people don't have that.
What do
So
you
if
mean
you
by
have that.
Like Burger King? No, I'm kidding.
No. So
Chick-fil-A.
have one page of your resume,
Okay.
and then have a separate page for your references. The more you do, the more you're impressing, because someone else next to you isn't doing that.
Like who would
have
you
a cover letter.
Wait, hold on, whoa, slow
Yeah.
down. Okay, who's gonna be on this reference sheet? Your
So-
mom or?
No, so
Oh.
include your clinical instructors, your nursing professors,
Okay.
your coworkers, or anyone that you work with, anyone that has a professional relationship with you.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't even call them, but they're impressed that they're there.
Okay, it's a good curb appeal.
Yeah, so it makes you stand out compared to someone else.
What does a cover letter do?
So then for cover letter, I got every job I applied for as a new grad.
Okay,
And I
okay.
had a cover letter, I had a reference sheet, and I had my resume. My cover letter, the foundation of it was the same, but then I would make it, for example, if I apply to, let's say, like Emory Hospital, right? I would say, this is for the nurse manager at Emory Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would use their service statement into my cover letter about why I deserve to be there. Here's my experience, and this is how I can relate to your hospital. This is how I can make your hospital better.
Dang, look at you.
And
That's
then
great.
it worked. My position now, they offered it to me during my interview.
Man.
They were like, we would
there's
love to
so
hire
much
you. And I
said.
was like, okay, because the more you do, the more you impress them.
Okay, so let me break this down for you guys. That was a lot of quick stuff. So I've been on the other side of the table helping with interviews at my hospitals. And the biggest thing is that you want really good staff. That's the hardest part about nursing. You need good staff, and that's what everyone's suffering from right now. So in the past, when everything was like, it was really hard to get into hospitals, you already knew that the new grads were applying to 10, 15, or whatever it is, how many different hospitals. And the hard part is trying to actually see someone who actually wants to be there. So if you look up the mission statement of the hospital, what did you say, the service?
Yeah, I meant the mission statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mission statement, know some key names of directors. The CNO, you probably want to be familiar with their name. It just shows that you actually care about what the establishment is, and you're not just there for like, hey, this is just like another one down my list. If you guys, don't take my
Exactly.
list. And it's not even, you can just look it up real quick, like right before your interview.
And if you don't get the interview, message people on LinkedIn. Look up recruiters in that hospital. I messaged someone and I got another ICU, different hospital interview, but I didn't go for it because I already accepted this position.
Okay.
And I messaged recruiters on LinkedIn, and I also messaged staff working in the ICU. And I was like, hey, I'm a new grad. And I just like introduced myself. I was like, I hope you're doing well. I'm really interested. Are you guys still hiring new grads? And the person responded, was like, hey, here's my charge nurse's contact information. Reach out to her. And I did, and then they offered me an interview, but by then I already accepted a position. So like, don't sleep on LinkedIn, use it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Okay, so there's a lot of things here. So use LinkedIn.
Yes.
In your last 6 months of nursing school, apply to jobs.
Yes.
Move to Georgia and get all the jobs you want. No.
Move to California, because then you won't get more than 4 patients. And
Yeah, that's
surge.
true, too,
They have a
but-
union, and you get a break.
But you won't get hired. You'll probably work in a really crappy hospital.
So move to Georgia, get your experience, then move to California as a travel nurse.
That sounds good. Okay, so we talked about the resume stuff, about the interview, about a few questions. What did you wear the day of the interview?
So I wore a blazer with a button up underneath it, and I wore dress pants,
It's
even
like a
though
sports coat.
it was like a
Blazer?
blazer, like a
What is blazer?
professional. You know, like men have blazers they wear with suits.
Okay, yeah.
But women have them too.
Oh.
Dress to impress.
Okay.
Dress to impress.
High heels?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was on Zoom.
Skirts?
All of them were on Zoom.
You were,
No,
on Zoom?
and I was fully dressed up because I was like, what if they ask me to stand up?
You had PJs on the bottom, right?
No, I had dress pants. I went all out. I went all out. And I did appropriate makeup, minimal makeup, but I
Minimal
still
makeup.
wore makeup.
Okay.
Because people say wearing makeup makes you look more professional. I don't know if I agree with it, but I did it.
What do you mean? Like, if you wear too much makeup, they don't like that?
They don't like too much makeup and they don't like no makeup.
Oh, so somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the
Dang,
middle.
It's hard being a girl, okay.
It's very hard being a girl.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wore a blazer, button-up shirt,
Okay.
wore dress pants.
Dress pants.
I didn't have shoes on because it was on Zoom, but I was like, but if they ask me to stand up, they'll see my dress pants.
But they won't
and
see
some of them
shoes.
joked about it. They did joke about it. And I was like, no, I'm fully dressed. You guys want to see? And they're like, no. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other tips for the interview process? Getting prepared, talking to other nurses?
Have
or-
questions at the end to ask.
What do you mean?
So at the end, they're like, do you have any questions for us?
Oh.
Ask questions because no one else does that.
Really? Okay, what kind of questions?
So I asked, what are your goals and expectations? What does your ideal new grad nurse look like on your unit? And no one asked that.
Dang, that's
And you
pretty
want to know the answer
in-depth.
to that because if you're signing a 2-year contract and it sounds
Oh,
toxic,
yeah.
you don't want to do it.
La toxica.
And
yeah, you don't want
also,
toxic.
if they offer you a contract, ask them to visit the unit before you sign it. I visited the unit before I
What?
signed
You can
it.
do that?
Yeah.
It's
you
like
can.
buying a house. Like, let me go visit this unit.
Because
Like,
if
yeah.
I'm gonna be there and I'm signing the contract and I'm stuck there, I want to make sure it's a good unit. Because
It's
what
gonna
if
be
it's
your
toxic
home.
culture? You know what I mean? You're stuck, and I didn't want to be stuck. So I signed the contract, but I visited the unit ahead of
Okay.
time. So I highly encourage that. You have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, because you're like signing something for 2 years, going in blind, right?
Exactly.
That makes sense. Because then you're trying to see if like, hey, if I'm not the perfect fit,
Yeah.
what can I know about my next interview?
And also, it helped me with the next interview because they would say
Really?
someone who isn't afraid to ask questions,
You did two
someone
interviews?
who would go above and beyond. So then, when I interviewed with another hospital, I
Okay.
was like, I'm not afraid to ask questions. I like to go above and beyond, and I impressed them. So
You're like,
check,
check.
exactly.
That's really good. Okay. You didn't ask them like, why are there so many openings? What's wrong with this unit? I'm
No,
just kidding.
you don't want to do that.
I'm just messing
That's a
around.
red flag. That's how you won't get the job.
That's like, this is how not to get the job. Tips and tricks on how not to get the
Yeah.
job. All right. Anything else you want to add or take away?
No, shoot your shot and apply to those jobs.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Don't be afraid. Trust your gut.
Pat, do you have business cards to pass out to like these? They're in your last semester of nursing school. Like, hey, call me. I'm a new grad.